Hi there, I'm Shane Spiers, and welcome to another edition of the Performance Brief, where we give you one breakthrough business idea in just 5 minutes. My guest today is Anthony Iannarino. Anthony, a very warm welcome. Where are you today? How are you today?
I am home in Westerville, Ohio, and I'm wonderful. I'm in the
Brilliant.
final editing of book number 3, so head down, going back over a lot of words.
Yeah, I bet. So, for those of you who don't know him, Anthony is an international speaker, best-selling author, entrepreneur, and sales leader. He posts daily sales tips and insights to the sales blog. Anthony, the title of our interview today is The Lost Art of Closing, which I think is your second book, is it? The latest one?
Book number 2, I like the topic.
Brilliant. And we have 5 minutes for the interview, so I'll start the clock if you're ready.
I'm ready when you are. I've never worked against the clock before in one of these. This will be good.
Good. Right, so let's start. So, why write a book about closing now?
Because everything that was written before this book is bad advice for salespeople. And I'm trying to help people make better decisions when they're sitting in front of a client so they can produce better results. So that the old smarmy, tactical tie down kind of things that people were taught in the 70s and 80s and are still being taught by some no longer serve you.
Right.
Shane, you do love your wife, right? You do.
Yes.
You love your children. Should something happen to you, you'd want them to go to college. Please sign here. There's 3 copies. The last copy is yours. Yeah, that just isn't the world we live in anymore. And somebody had to update what the concept means.
Okay. And what's changed about commitment gaining?
Well, the concept of commitment gaining and closing was really just about the final ask, which is they ask for you to sign things. But now decisions aren't made that way. It's not something where we walk in, we sit down with somebody one time and they make a decision to buy and sign a contract in most cases. Now we have to explore the change. We have to commit that it makes sense to do something different right now. We need to collaborate around what the solution's going to look like and build consensus and then talk about the investment and review things with people and resolve their concerns. So there's all these things that have to happen first that if you get to an old closing book, it skips over all of that and goes right to just the final ask. But you need all these other asks that come before this. And that's what's changed the most.
Right. And what are the most important commitments?
They're all important, but I think if I had to tell you the couple that cause people to make mistakes, the first one is the commitment to change. And what people don't recognize is that the client's exploring change and they'll let you give them a proposal and pricing and have conversations with you, but they haven't really committed yet to making some change fundamentally in what they're doing. So you have to ask that question. I have to say, Shane, we've talked about all the reasons that you should change and some things that you might do. Does it make sense to do that now? And if it does, can we go ahead and start tailoring this to fit you and bring in the other people who are going to be involved in this decision? And I think when you skip that and you go all the way to the end, you find out later on they really weren't committed to change. They were committed to explore.
Right.
And the other one that I would give you that's difficult for people is the commitment to resolve concerns. And that's where I say, Shane, thanks so much. I really enjoyed meeting with you. You're a terrific guy. We love your company. We're going to look this over and we'll get back to you in a couple weeks. And that was the last time you heard from that client and they went dark because they have fears and concerns and you weren't there to help them with it.
So how are you going about how are you unlocking that? How are you getting that unlocked and doing this in a different way?
I'm going to say, Shane, listen, I appreciate that you want to share this with your team and that you're going to want to have a conversation with them about moving forward. Can I share one thing that we might do together to make this easier and better for you? He's nodding. So
Yes.
if this is a video podcast, uh, your people are going to have questions and they're going to have concerns
Yep.
and they're going to express them. And a lot of times what happens is that if they don't get the answers, then they can't agree to make this kind of change. After you have your conversation, can I come in at the end of that conversation or the next day and make sure that you have answers for every concern that they have? Because unless they're 100% confident moving forward, they're right to refuse to make this change. And I want to help you make sure that they're 100% confident.
Right.
Got to ask.
Yeah. And what do you see as some of the biggest mistakes being made still?
Not controlling the process at all. I mean, probably the biggest one is people thinking they know what they want. They'll decide what needs to come next when they decide it needs to come next. And if the client knew how to get the better results that they were capable of, they'd already be getting them. So you have to know things that they don't know. And you have to help control the process because they don't really know they have to have all these conversations.
Right.
That's probably the biggest. The second is just the fear of asking for the next commitment generally. Like, I don't want to ask because I don't want to be that kind of a salesperson, or they say things like, I don't want to be salesy. Well, don't be consultative instead. Still ask, but do it in a way where the other person feels good about your ask and not bad about it.
Great. Anthony, sorry, we're just coming to the end of our time. I just want to make sure I get into the link to your page, www.thesalesblog.com. Thank you very much for your time. That was great insight.
Thank you for having me.